y'all do like we do in church? Like move closer, move to the middle. If there's a seat next to you, raise your hand. Allow people to come in and fill in spaces. Folks in the back, it's going to be a long conversation, so you might as well sit down. Welcome. Come on in. We got a lot. Yep. Make friends. Raise your hand if there's a seat next to you. Invite a friend in. Absolutely. Thank you. Folks in the back, unless you're stretching, you know, it might be helpful to sit down. Yeah. And my eyes are bad these days. I'm getting older, so. All right. Look at lots of seats here. To the left, to the left. Okay. Everything you own in the, okay.
Okay, are we ready? I said, are we ready? We good? Okay, we're going to keep the day going. So, I have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing to some and presenting to others our fearless leader, our chancellor, Dr. Tamil Gilkerson.
Well, good morning. It's still morning, right? We're still in the morning? Well, good morning, everyone. Oh, man, what a crowd at Merritt College. I love it. Let's turn to your right and take a look at that view. I was telling a colleague of mine how lucky we are to see the majesty right there. I mean, let's just sit in the majesty for a second, right? First, let me just offer real gratitude again. This stuff doesn't happen without exactly what Marla, Chelsea, the team at Merritt College, President Johnson, Tara Marrero, the entire tech team. We got, right, Angel, Joe, Ceci, Bindi, Marcus, Fiza, Mark Johnson, Dale coming back from retirement to help out. Dale just missed my last minute giving him my slides at the very last minute. Was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's play it by ear, Chancellor. So they always say, Chancellor, we'd like your slides by like Monday or Tuesday. And I'm like, I really appreciate it, but not going to happen. You know, so it's just, I don't do that well. And then let me just offer gratitude to our presenters today. Wow. So what was so incredible, one, hello from our community, right? Roots in our community, doing big things statewide, talking about success of students and centering it, and particularly on the precipice of now all having applications in to be designated as the new statewide Black serving institutions for all of our campuses. And while the state funding is still not a reality, the thing is this, our data is not where it needs to be, right? And so we have work to do. And what they've talked about and what I love about the RP group is the fact that the 6 factors of student success is like work that is central since I have been a dean. I mean, it's been around for a while. I'm getting old in the tooth. And so, and it is paramount because it comes from student voices. They tell us directly what they want. It doesn't have to be complicated sometimes. And so I appreciated just the engagement level from all of you thinking about these things, how we could show up better, what we could do. And many of you elevating many of the concerns and issues that we have in our district. I'm with you. I've heard them. I feel them. So I want to just center that space and just say thank you again to the team for identifying them as coming, and then for all of you for being engaged and staying with us. So as we gather this morning, I want to start first to take a moment to acknowledge what today offers us in time and space. And I need to do it because I just need a deep breath. So may we take a breath for this land and the wisdom of indigenous people that have been on this land before this was here, And before our colonization, deep breath in and out. May we take a breath in acknowledgement of fear and anxiety in and outside of this room as we watch and respond to the changes under this new administration and the assault on freedom of speech, immigrants, undocumented communities, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and recognition of individual rights to be treated as their identified gender. Deep breath in and out. May we take a moment and a breath in acknowledgement of the power and privilege in this room and the opportunity we have to serve students who trust us with their education. Deep breath in and out. May we take a breath for our ancestors and loved ones and colleagues whose shoulders many of us stand on to be here today. So deep breath in and out. So I've been doing this breath work stuff as I start sort of these things because I think calling into the space is an important part of it, right? The acknowledgement. So I'll just really, you can almost feel the room change. It was interesting this morning, I did a meditation, I woke up, I did better this year, y'all. I love you all very much because a lot of folks are like, I almost text you at 3 a.m. because I knew you were gonna be awake. I did better this year. I actually laid my eyes, I closed my eyes at midnight. I was like, okay, you could do it. And I woke up and I was, but it's been, it was funny. One of my colleagues said, do you spend all summer working on it? Kind of in my mind, right? A little bit. So I just appreciate being able to center these things with you today. So let's talk about what is, I don't know where I point this. There we go. So I don't have to tell you, Chelsea, Marla, we talked about it earlier. We are in a time of uncertainty, rapid uncertainty. Global and geopolitical issues going on, economic and workforce, right? Rising nationalism and political polarization. We see inflation spikes, cost of living. There was conversations about that today. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on that. Really indiscriminate immigration enforcement happening, right, in communities, particularly those in Los Angeles. We can see this happening. We have climate and environmental issues, right, happening where we're seeing continuing relocation, global water scarcity issues. How are we going to address, right, what's happening today? We've got technology and AI things happening as well, right? Rapid obsolescence of skills and jobs and those kind of things, ethical considerations about that. And we have social and cultural issues happening, right? Every day you open what? The news feed and it's like the onslaught. And so it feels, I was like, this is not a good slide, Chancellor. It has too much stuff. This is not in Presentation 101, but what is it? This is how it feels right now, right? This is how it feels. And so again, we still have lingering effects of COVID. Somebody just texted me and said, I got COVID again, right? I mean, we know that these things are happening. And there's inequities in healthcare access. We can talk about it. We know we're teaching about it here, even at Merritt College and a little bit at College of Alameda, as we're talking about these health sciences. And the debates, right, over public health and personal freedoms. So a lot is going on. A lot is heavy on you. A lot is heavy on me. A lot is heavy on our students and our community. And, the state of higher education, frankly, right, just even in our data, and we talked about it today, right, in terms of race and ethnicity, underrepresented groups, again, continuing to have historically faced lower enrollment compared to their white counterparts in completion. Gender, female-identified students continue to outnumber male-identified students. This is a concern. We should be concerned about it, the loss, right, of what's happening. And again, despite this, right, female-identified students going less into STEM careers. How can we have equitable healthcare access in science if we don't have, right, female-identified students also being scientists and researchers? We've got things around age, right, in education enrollment completion. Students over 24 who are balancing education, work, and family responsibilities make up a significant portion, right, of our communities. And then if you look at student debt, right? I don't need to go through all of these, but you know, it's a little bit different for us at community colleges, but it's not, right? Frankly, and we're going to talk about a little bit about that today as well. So we really have this sort of crisis of confidence in higher education too, right? The onslaught even before the actual onslaught that's happening now, where just every single day education doesn't matter, right? This is sort of where we are as a community. And so nationally and statewide from the federal government, it is that assault on higher education. It's the threats to federal funding. Like we wake up one day and they're like, we're gonna stop financial aid. I was like, oh my, you know? So everybody's freaking out and I was like, it's okay, let's go, pull down all our money, right? I mean, that's what we were doing. And then it's like, take a deep breath, right? Take a deep breath, Neil. But we got challenges to DEI, right? This whole impact on undocumented and mixed status communities is really real and happening, right? And concerns, Jeff Sanseri said it today, about academic freedom, having the tools, being unencumbered to teach and to do excellence in that teaching that you do. It certainly is a part of what's going on. And statewide here in California, we have a lot of issues, right? I mean, right? We have concerns about our local economy, what's happening, these microeconomies and the statewide budget are certainly concerns. We've got issues with students meeting their basic needs. Mental health issues, recession, right? All of these things are quite very central to sort of what's going on here in the context of where we are. And then let me do it like this so you can feel the onslaught of how it feels with all the executive orders that are coming out. I'm not gonna go into these long because they don't deserve a lot of comment. So we got DOJ initiatives and guidance and things like this. And what this is, frankly, y'all, so these letters come out, they freak us all out, everybody's talking about it, and I'm like, we will be undeterred about where we're going. Our mission is clear, our student population is clear, what we've done for years is clear. We're not gonna continue, to run around and be afraid. But it is important for us to acknowledge, right, that this is happening. And what this is this mechanism, right? It is a mechanism and it targets making us run around and be crazy and not be focused on the work. Running around being crazy and changing all these things that are what? Core to what we do and who we are. And so, but we are often sort of related, having to think about these, having to respond to people saying what we're gonna do. And frankly, when you woke up the other day and it mentions that DEI portal where they're thinking, and I'll just tell you all, it's not that we've been immune to it this last year. We definitely had things that have come up that we've had to sort of reconcile and deal with and think about, right? Where our names were on, a major email blast that went out and said, how dare you give scholarships to Black students, right? We're looking for that one student who didn't get that scholarship, right? And it's coming even from within our own community. So it's important to know that, right, we do serve important communities, but we as an educational institution have to be able to have conversation and debate and talk in what? In civil ways, in ways that actually elevate everybody's thinking. There is so much I don't know. The vastness of the things I don't know, it just kind of scares me, right? That first slide that I showed you with everything, I don't know the depth of the global water crisis as much. I'm concerned about the wording that I use, right? Because it can block us from even having the conversation we need to have, right? And so how do we think about what that call to action was earlier that you heard from colleagues when we're in that space? Does that make sense? Yeah. So we really want to, and we don't want to chill our work on doing things. So I wanted to show you this. This is just literally a bunch of articles that have come out, right? So you can see we are in the news all the time. It's more than just headlines. These are things that actually colleges and universities are dealing with right away. How this all connects to things, what's going on. So let me give some context about Peralta, right? Our home, where we're at right now, and give some space and some clarity about what's been happening for our district in the last year. Oops, I went the wrong way. So I wanted to put this slide up because I'd be remiss not to talk about the historical funding challenges that we've had. I've updated the slide. So we have used this for basically almost the last 2 years. But I wanted to say, because I know more of you here this time, is to just literally kind of walk through this, right? So for those of you who haven't heard or watched other flexes or come to the district roadshows where we're really talking about how we're funded and what the mechanism is, what I have to say to you all is when I look at this is that really what you see is years, and we only went back to a certain portion, years of multi-million-dollar cuts that you've taken every single year almost, or things that we've done to borrow from one term to pay for the next academic year. So does that make sense? We borrow students from another year to put it in a term. That's when we used to have a funding formula that was like that. But what you see here is we froze 4.5 million in positions. We cut $11 million. We relied on COLA, which was 3.26, right, to balance the budget, right, of what we needed. We cut 2.8 million, 8.3 million, 13.9 million, 3.5 million, 3.05. And this last year, $11.75 million. Just, ay por Dios. Like the and so I've come to you since I've been here, since I started in January 2024, to say, like, this isn't a way to function. It's not healthy. It's not like the place that we need to be. And I think, like, that isn't even the cut with what we're basically, quote unquote, borrowing from the state, right? Does that make sense? So they've been giving us money to, like, help offset, not cutting us, because our enrollment has been declining for years and years and years. And so, how do we sort of think about this in the context? And so I want to just, first of all, just say thank you. Thank you to those of you who stayed and have been, helping and doing all this stuff. This is not easy work, and it's shouldered by everybody. I heard a lot of the comments this morning. I do understand how painful this has been, and it's like the slow cut, right? It's the slow kind of thing that makes it even more impactful and hard. And so I came to you a year ago and said, this is the challenges for long-term planning, long-range planning. So it's not even that we have to take the cuts. It's that, like, we can't get out from under it because we have all these challenges, right? And so what we put forward to you all in the budget seminar and all this stuff is like, look, we got these things, and I was like, let's be as transparent as possible, right? Here's the budget. Here it is. We did a new look at it, years out so you could see what we were looking at, years backwards so you could see where we are. And there were issues that we have here that are related to, right, our OPEB, our ongoing costs, equipment and replacement, increasing demands on health insurance, right? The need to address over $37 million in outstanding student debt, right? Like external credit rating issues, those kind of things. We needed to, like, sort of put them all down and make sure that you all knew what the conditions were. So it's not just the cut and keeping the budget, it's all of these other things that we also needed to address. And so I just want to say thank you, because there has been focused progress this last year, very painful focused process this last year. And I want to, like, just say, I don't know what happened. In the fall, I came to you all last August, and it was similar kind of message, but it was trying to be like, yeah. I'll tell you, though, when I walked into January, I just, like, had, like, a major panic attack. Because I was like, there's so much I don't know, right? Like, I don't know. Like, how the frick do you do it? I was like, really, how? And, like, I just felt, and have felt for the last year, like, since January, since I've been here, but, like, really, truly in January, this, like, sort of like, how do I hold everybody and, like, make and help lead and make the right choices that I know are what's best for us. And I've learned a lot. I'll tell you, I've learned a lot, and I'm grateful for those of you who've partnered and done things. And so I want to just acknowledge that the Board of Trustees has been laser focused and supportive of understanding that we have to address these things if we're going to be around for the long term, period. This is about saving the district for the community. This isn't like, do I go back to the historical funding challenges? You can't do your best work if we don't have budget to do things, right? It's like, so I heard the comments, and that's like sort of what it is. So I want to give kudos and acknowledge the board. I want to thank Greg Nelson and the finance team, too. Our planning and budget committees, our shared governance committees have really done tremendous work this last year. And the colleges, the leadership, you all having difficult conversations at your colleges on really focused progress this last year. And some of it I'm not even going to show in this slide, but what we did is we revised our AP and BP, so our board policy and administrative procedure on reserves. So we created a reserve for scheduled maintenance and equipment. Y'all, how do we not have updated 21st century learning, equipment, those kind of things? We've never had it. We were fighting for it when I was the president of Laney College, right? We've set aside budget for addressing liabilities, right? So we lowered the reserve of the district from 16.67% to 8% with graduated ways of which we're going to grow it back, but we use that money to address liabilities right away. So we did a pension stabilization, right? We're investing our dollars so we can stabilize what we can grow and do better with our money, being more financially savvy about using the resources so that we can actually earn some money to help, defray costs, being smarter. We did a special reserve, so we set aside some of that dollars to pay the other post-employment benefits, liability, our trust. So we have a responsibility, and we're keeping our responsibility to our incredible retirees, right, who retire from the district and deserve their lifetime benefits and those that they have for their families. We need to do that, but we have the largest liability in the state. I might guess in the nation, but I'll just say the state, which has created an imbalance for us, and that's why creditors, and that's why ACCJC, our accreditation institution and everything, have concerns about our fiscal stability, right? So we're putting aside dollars to say, let's get to work on it, right? And we also did a resignation incentive. So we put out a resignation incentive, negotiated. Thank you to our labor groups. So thank you to Local 39, SEIU, PFT for coming together and finding an opportunity to do this. This wasn't easy work. And so we had a number of employees get an opportunity to take that resignation incentive. We also had an additional $10 million from the surplus that we have from our trust. So we actually went to the board, we went to the retirement board, and we said, look, I know this is hard for you. You think that we need to pay down these dollars. This is how it's going to benefit the district and you all in the long term. So we really went through that battle. We did this, and thankfully everybody came together to say, yes, this makes sense to us. So we're additionally paying down that liability even more. And so it's a good thing. We had a reduction in force. I get it. It was like probably one of the most painful things I've done in my career. And it was painful because I know it was painful for you. It was painful for our colleagues. It was a very, very difficult thing. But it was about positions that the district really needed to be continually assessing what it is that we needed and what we were doing. But it had an impact. I'm grateful to SEIU, frankly, for getting to the table and working with us so that we placed people who wanted to stay into jobs. So we impacted them. So I want to just be really clear. We impacted them, but we were able to give every person who wanted to stay a position and a job. And they're now retraining and doing these things, and we're supporting them. We also, though, we let go of a lot of administrators. We have reduced the size of administration. And so administrators are taking on more work. More things are happening, but we had to do it. We were oversized for what we were doing. And so it was a very painful process, but again, we came together because we knew what? If we worked and communicated that we could do something in a way that sort of helps move the district forward. And it was a way to get to that almost $12 million reduction that we had to take to go into this year. So we found efficiencies. So I want to give just a round of applause to folks. I mean, we found a lot of efficiencies this last year and I have to say, for those, again, who've heard me speak before, and you'll hear me again, I mean, like, literally, we have been budgeting on Excel spreadsheets in this district. We are teaching students high-quality stuff, and we have been budgeting on those kind of things. We, like, literally have had antiquated systems, so sometimes there's mistakes made because somebody emails a spreadsheet, and then a decimal point is off, y'all, right? Like, it's kind of things. So we're finding efficiencies in processes. We're adopting the tools that we need to make things successful. We're actually paying vendors now. Like, yeah. We've improved our contracts improvement process. So we just did 3 vendor open houses. We're saying, come back. Thank you for your patience. We want to be good stewards. We want to do this, right? These are things. We are improving our procurement process. I want to thank our purchasing team, right? They've done a lot to change over to a new system. We've had more people bid on projects for us than we've had in years. Sometimes we get 1 bid, y'all. And our board policy says you got to have at least 3. 1. This last time in several of our procurement processes, we've had like 8 vendors or more. So people are now starting to see it. We have professionalized what we're doing. We're coming back to the table and saying, but what that means for us is the best value and the best options for us. We don't have to take the dregs, right? We get choice. We get opportunity to make some decisions. So those are kind of things have been happening. We also just finally paid outstanding gas and electric bills from years old. I mean, like they turning us off. No, and then we got on a plan. Lights out, right? So, and I want to apologize to community, right? We've had hazardous waste sitting around certain buildings for a long time. We're cleaning that up. Hopefully you see we got a new floor coming in here. We're doing stuff at the, we're trying right now to be focused on where we need to be. And so it's taken time. It doesn't happen as fast. I know today they were upset about the floors not being done today. It's like contracting at your house. You know what I mean? You hope it's going to be done and under budget, but it never is that way. So, and I'll tell you, it showed. So we went in front of S&P, so Standard & Poor's and Fitch credit ratings, and we got improved ratings of 2 steps. Y'all, they said the outlook is looking better. Now, Moody's was a little moody, but that's okay. I'll just be honest. But they have a new higher ed standard for the way that they do credit, and we're going to go back to them. We're going to continue because what we did is I went to see them in February. With Greg, we went to see them in February, and we just went back, and they improved our ratings, right? And that was what? To you who live in this area, to our taxpayers, that's money. That's help. That's right, improved efficiency. So we're proving to our community that we care about the investment that they're making. And so these are really important strides that we've made in this last year. So I want to give you a year-over-year comparison. So hard work, but measurable impact. So let me just show you this. So last year in July, this was our tentative budget. So what we did is we said in 24-25, we're going to have to take $11.1 million reduction. And then if we took that, we were looking at out year, right, of 18, 27, and 36. Now, if you take the reductions, right, you carry it through. But that's what it was looking like. So you see how a historical slide to is the madness. We had to be bold and really understand what we have to do to get to where we need to go. And I'm pleased. This is the July 2025 draft adopted budget. So I came to you and I said, if we work together, one, I have all belief in this community, but two, I wanted to give us the longest runway we had possible. We have a 2-year runway to get it done this year, to really buckle down and understand that we have things we need to still do. Right? This is not a done endeavor, right? You see it out here, but there's a moment for like a quick water break and a breath, right? And to tie up the shoes and keep going. By the way, we're going to have a 5K. I'm going to tell, I'm just, so get running. Okay. So, we still have a great deal of work in front of us. So, but one of the things I wanted to show you here is that we have actually begun addressing some of these recommendations that have been long-standing recommendations for us, right? So this is really, really important. This is what I'm saying external community, you can see, our students can see, the taxpayers in our area can see, the credit agencies can see, ACCJC can see. People know we're serious about what we're doing now, right? We're starting to tick off and do the things, but we have to say what? Committed to keeping it up, right? Vigilant to the change and understanding what's going on. So I'm really proud of the team, of all of you, and just so grateful for staying with it, keeping things going. So another little quick thing is we transitioned to a new standardized accounting method. So the State Chancellor's Office adopted a new way to calculate full-time equivalent students from our class data. We send it on a 320 report. I mean, it's way too much information that you want to know, but whatever. But there's a formula that we use. And so I want to thank research, and I want to thank Stephen Chan in particular, who does our 320 reporting. It's in our IR office. So what this shows is basically what we had is we rebenched. So I want to remind everybody, we rebenched to 15,524. So that's the base for us. We get funded at that level, and until we reach that level, we go above it, we are ineligible for COLA. So when the governor says he's going to give a COLA, we're ineligible for it on the thing. We are flat funded now until we reach that. But this change to the accounting method, what? Actually, people started getting excited. I started getting emails, oh, Chancellor, and I am excited. So with the accounting method, we were able, right, again here, you'll see this, to get to 15,412 in 24. So we're right under it. But let me just tell you, so that's an 8.1%. We had projected that it was going to be about a 4.4% increase. It ended up being 8.1%. But let me tell you, I've done a lot of work in the state. I've been around, like what comes up comes down, and it also flattens out at some point, right? So what's most important that I need to tell you is we can't keep our foot off the pedal because the head count didn't change, y'all. It was all the accounting method. Distinctly, it hasn't changed, right? And then let me just give you context. So the governor's budget for this year has a 2.43% COLA, right, in it. So that's what the projected COLA was for this year. So we were ineligible for it. But, you can almost taste it right here. But let me just give it for context. What we would have gotten in dollars would have only been a third of what we needed even in the reduction. So that we just took, right? So COLA is not a lifesaver for us, right? It's helpful, but it's not a lifesaver for us. And so I just wanted to put some context about that. So like Leslie and others, right? I'm always thinking, always trying to read to keep up with things. And so Adam Grant wrote this book, Think Again. And it was sitting around the district office, actually. And so I picked it up one day. I was like, oh, people are reading this book. Let me, take a look at it. And I actually found it really interesting. So he said that perspective in a time of uncertainty is really about holding your convictions loosely and your curiosity tightly. The adaptability is both a skill and a mindset, right? So that we have to work on it, and that the purpose of learning is not to affirm what we believe, but to evolve our beliefs, right? We're educators. I feel like we should know this, right? Like this is our bread and butter, but it often isn't, right? And then talks about this thing about confident humility, right? The willingness to admit we don't have all the answers. And I think I'm telling you a lot of times that I don't, right? I just told you, like I woke up in January, I was like, I have no idea, but like, let's try, right? I've learned so much. It's the determination to keep seeking answers in the face of not knowing what you're going to do. And that's why we're here, right? We're clear-eyed about what we need to do, what we need to change. We need to be confident in that. And I know we have the talent and creativity and resilience to make that happen. So Grant goes on to talk about rethinking and unlearning. And so I think it's important, right? He describes these different modes of thinking, right? Which is the preacher who always is defending what we believe. He talks about the prosecutor attacking, like boom, 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 right? What others believe. And then this other one is the politician seeking approval for what they believe, right? Going out and seeking approval. And then the fourth mode is the scientist who's testing and experimenting and willing to rethink things, right? So I had somebody text me the other day and they were like, oh, I'm getting the newest iPhone, right? I'm going to do this stuff, right? I got this. Oh, I got my new tech. What was the board thing that we were writing on? The remarkable, the tech is like so amazing. But some of us are still running on like Windows 9.5, right? That's what he says in the book. He says folks, we'll update our technology before we'll update our beliefs. We're holding stuff. I still have a thing about something, right, from something that happened to me in middle school, right? You're holding onto these beliefs, and oftentimes they're not serving us. And so I've been really using this thought, not just about work, but in my own life, right? Girl, what are you holding onto that is holding back your shine, right? And I think in a lot of ways, our colleges really need to reevaluate, right? What we've carried forward, not because it was wrong, right? But because our environment, our mission, our students demand something more today, right? 2025. And so I think that's kind of an important policy. And so one of the quotes in the book is, if knowledge is power, knowing what we don't know is wisdom. Boy, right? Yeah. So when was the last time we retired a program or process not because it failed, but because it had fulfilled its purpose? Right? Yeah, let's just sit with that one. So I want to remind everybody of, again, our district-wide shared governance process that we adopted and went through almost a year to get there. We adopted this new manual. We launched it in January. And I got to just say thank you to everybody. What a tremendous effort to rethink and reconceptualize what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I've shared this in multiple presentations I've given. I've highlighted a couple things here that I think are most important in some of the things, why we participate. So you heard your constituency and governance leaders saying, get involved, right? But part of the mindset around this is, right, we aim to provide representation to students who feel you are representative bodies, right? You're representing to students who feel unheard, ensuring every voice is valued. By reporting facts as they are, not as they seem to be, we empower students and strengthen our society. We believe in the transformative power of education, which offers the greatest opportunity to change one's worldview, material circumstances, and self-image. And we went on to write a whole other thing, but our objective really is to collaborate meaningfully, shifting from individual efforts to collective understanding and action. I should have just underlined and underscored, and action. By building a governance structure grounded in shared values and community commitments, we enable collective action marked by urgency and hope. It is urgent that we are modeling for students and each other what we're doing, right? It is urgent that we lead with hope and do these things together as we're moving through this next thing. And so what it's really been about is, for me, collective responsibility, collective ingenuity, and collective action. And that's what I saw this last year. And I'm really proud of this community for stepping up, stepping in, holding space, figuring it out, and raising your hand when you don't know, right? And I was one among you all trying to figure it out. So I did our beginning governance retreat, and there were inquiry questions that we offered. So we are in an inquiry-based model, right? Dream, define, discover. We're trying to define what the issue is and work collectively towards it versus working at cross purposes. And so again, I apologize to folks for what it is, but we really have pulled an appreciative engagement framework, right? So we want to operationalize inquiry questions. And so this was the kickoff to our governance retreat. So these were some of the questions that were asked, but you can see it's sort of saying, how can we, model curiosity and learning in our governance structure, right? Because people don't know. That's okay. Inviting in the learning. And so we asked some of these questions as we were looking forward to an $11.7 million cut. A need where our student data shows that completion and success has some work to do, right? That we have disproportionate impact for underrepresented communities that we say is actually what we're all about. And if we looked at the data, we have some programs in our district that have less than a 50% success rate across all 4 colleges we're offering it. And the data for Black students and brown students is even worse in those courses. This isn't a full-sale trying to call out people. I'm just saying, if we say that that's what we're about, let's how do we resource and give the tools? How do we think about it in the right way? How do we grapple with what the data says to us? So I asked for moonshot thinking, put that out at the October when we were at Laney College. I talked about that. And I called in to the community for those who wanted to email me, to respond on a form that brought me the data to, and we pushed it to the governance groups to give us feedback. And I'm going to share some of the feedback folks gave, right? So it's a long list. They're small. I'm going to go through it quickly, but you're going to see better scheduling and planning based on what students want. And there's asterisks on ones where I got multiple of those. Eliminate redundant management positions, redesign space utilization on the campuses more efficiently to not compete with each other, but better support for all district offerings, consolidate administrative staff, district to move to a college location, merge overlapping programs, close and consolidate colleges, merge Laney and Merritt, merge Laney and COA, merge Laney, COA, and Merritt, become a single college. Every configuration, yeah. And then it was single college with satellite campuses. And folks, this is where I got most of online college, weekend college, closed district 1 day a week, reduce duplication and increase efficiency. Reduce duplication and, ha ha. You see, I have a sense of humor. Okay, develop a schedule. Students can count on a 2-year schedule. More face-to-face classes, services to support evening students, incentives for students to enroll, outside relationships for funding, offer more classes, sell, lease, or develop land. I got a lot of this. Way more than so finally with one individual, I was like, you cannot say that anymore in emails, period, thank you. And so the beginning of their email is always like, I know I'm not supposed to say that, so I won't, period. So it's become kind of funny. And then they write about other things. Mine for oil at Merritt. The neighbors would love that, right, y'all? Yeah. District-wide department chairs. Offer bachelor's degrees, explore remote workforce, centralized apartments for each campus, centralized finance, rent facilities. This was a lot, so it was sell and rent a lot. And non-degree, non-credit programs, developing these out more. So this was a large scale. Any surprises? Folks surprised? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like yeah. Yeah, but so let me just say one thing too. Again, gratitude. I'm grateful to those of you who came to the table, offered ideas, said what you wanted to say, wanted to contribute to the process, have been here and paying attention, to where we're at and trying to kind of come up with ideas and things. I think it's really important. And I think, I gave like 6+ months for people to give feedback, right? And so what's interesting is I have had more people be like, Chancellor, tell us. Just tell us. I'm like, no, tell me. Chancellor, tell us. We need you just to tell us, right? No, tell me. Come on. Like, let's go. And so there was a propensity from a large part of the community who didn't necessarily have things that they wanted to say, but wanted me to kind of tell what was going to go on. So this is a fairly long quote, but it came from a PBC member at one of the meetings, and I think it's kind of illustrative of some things. So we need a comprehensive enrollment strategy where we encourage departments to work together so that we're not scheduling against each other, and a budgeting model, and this is really important. This is where the BAM really broke down and harmed the district, so the budget allocation model. A budgeting model that does not reward FTES generation for its own sake, because that became a zero-sum game where colleges were incentivized to cut each other. I mean, we have set it up ourselves, right? And that's the way it works. So I think, again, the hard question I'm asking is, how do we develop a new model that would encourage cooperation, not be the kind of competition that is ultimately harmful to the district and remains harmful to the district? There is a powerful incentive at the college level to juice your FTS at the expense of the other colleges. That's the way it works. And I wanted to just note that I put a graphic here, Matthew Freeman. This is an important thing, right? So this really is the thing. So Matthew Freeman taught me this, right? Moving. This is from the Obama administration when he did campaigning work, moving from the story of self to the story of us to the story of now, and the sort of actions and beliefs that sort of enable us and inhibit us. So he scratched this out, and we've been using this as a marker for sort of where we're going in terms of this work. And so in addition, I didn't put it on a slide, but I want to tell you that the Student Success and Enrollment Management Committee that we now have at the district has been doing great work. They've already brought recommendations, and those recommendations are increased support for the Peer Navigator, No Wrong Front Door program. And this summer, we got our enrollment teams together across the colleges. They got trained by leading experts from New York who are doing incredible things in the CUNY system there, and brought the model here to train the trainer so we can do it ourselves, and actually went through training and then trained, how many? Almost 40 navigators that are going to be across the colleges, so that no wrong front door. So students who come to, right, Laney, and they really need a program at another college are hearing about what's going on, right? That's actually happening. Our students, so that came out of the Student Success and Enrollment Management Committee. They're also, so I want to just thank Dr. Vasconcelos, Tina, and the team, everybody who was a part of that, and many of you are here who did the trainings. My eyesight is very, very bad, and so if maybe we can have folks stand up who participated in the training and led the training with our students, so you all can see. Gail, I think I saw you in the back at some point. Lily, yep. Gary, yep. Lilia, there y'all are. So their next recommendation is to create a district-wide enrollment management plan. A district-wide enrollment management plan using data, onboarding, scheduling, working towards a 2-year schedule, and marketing including micro announcements so that students see this. And the interesting thing is I met the other day with our 2 new student trustees, Leo and Ayan. And, I always try to work with the trustees on what they want their project to be or whatever, what we could work on together. And they were saying that they felt like they didn't know half the stuff I was talking about. They were like, we need a place for micro announcements. So when I was going back to look at the Student Success and Enrollment Management Committee's recommendations from the spring, I'm like, there is this synergy when groups get together and are connected to students and know what we need to do to improve and if we have a will to do it. So I think that's really important. So I think it's interesting that we're here and we're going to be opening a new landscape horticulture. Look at this. Look at this beautiful building. Brand new at Merritt College. So I think it's auspicious that we should be here about to open the center. I think it's on September 8th is when the grand opening ribbon cutting is, but a fantastic, beautiful new facility. We're going to be celebrating the new Automotive Technology Center at College of Alameda. We're breaking ground on multiple projects at the Laney campus site, so I'm pretty excited about it. But it got me thinking, right? So I was walking by my house. I was trying to take a walk, be a little healthy, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So my house when I was growing up was like this, where my mom had rose bushes lining the walkway, and like they would just grow and whatever. And then every year I would watch her at one point just go and hack the heads off of them. I'd be like, Mama, what are you doing? Like just hack. I mean, where they looked like I didn't even know what was going on. And I mean, like, I don't think she really had much skill with it. Like, she'd literally take the, kitchen shears and just be like, and all the stuff would be there, and I'd help her clean up the stuff, and every year they bloomed again. And so when I was walking by this, I thought that was interesting. And so what I want to talk about is the gardener's secret. And I want to just say to any of the landscape hort folks who are in here, I mean, I'm not a gardener, so I just want to predispose that I've been trying to learn about a lot, so I don't act like I know what I'm talking about. But really what it is you can't grow stronger without letting go. And I think it's a really important time for us to talk about this. So pruning is actually an investment in future growth. It's physical and mental act, right? They're combined together. And it requires seeing beyond sort of where you are right now, but seeing the future, right? And it's about, in nature, pruning, right, is deliberate. My mom wasn't very deliberate. She's lucky that roses just are their own thing, frankly. I would hate to see her prune a tree or anything like that. Actually, now that I think about it, our lemon tree totally, anyways. But so really what it is, it's about removing what no longer serves the plant so that it can actually, the healthiest parts can thrive. And it's also this paradox, right? From the outside, like I said, like my mom, she's just cutting away. It looks like loss, but in reality, it's actually an investment. It is channeling resources towards what matters the most. And so there are 3 truths about pruning. Healthy does not always mean essential, right? In a rose beet, even healthy stems are cut back, right, if they're going to obstruct something. In organizations, this is also the same thing. We dilute our focus, and I've talked about this a lot. We are diluting our focus when we have less capacity and we're working singularly and solely on a lot of things. Pruning prevents decay. Dead or diseased branches left alone can infect the whole plant, and you got to pull it all out. Same with organizations. Outdated systems, all of the things. This is where we've gotten to, y'all. Holding everything and not wanting to let it go when we know 21st century is here. It's been here for a while, but I don't know. And pruning shapes the future, right? Skilled gardeners envision the plants years ahead. They're masterful at it. And our choices really have to be guided by the future. It can't be in the past. They have to be. And so I got this from, I forget what this shows pruning technique from a class that I was going to take, but anyways, I was online. So this is a pruning of a crepe marrow. And so pruning feels like versus what I produce. So I want to recognize that me even having this conversation with you does not feel good. I'm acknowledging the space for which we're in, that this is hard. So it's uncomfortable. It can feel like a sense of loss. I'm sure many of you are already like, yeah, I'm about to go to, I get it. I do. It doesn't feel great. But it's also, afterwards, it's a clearer structure, healthier growth, more blooms, stronger roots. There really is an opportunity to grow here. So in January, if you listen to my Flex speech, I talked about making a vision board. I made a vision board for myself. And it was a really big deal for me. And so this was sort of the vision board that I'd shared. And there's one little thing in my vision board, which is right there, that I got a surprise and was able to get to go on a hot air balloon. And I got this view of this different angle. So earlier this summer, I had the opportunity to go on a hot air balloon. And I'm scared of heights a little bit. So like every time I do a zip line or I'm on a thing, I'm like singing church song, like I'm praying to God that I'm alive. But I don't want to miss the opportunity, but I seriously am. Like I remember I was on that thing, where you go off the boat and you're flying over the water, parasailing. And the little a carabiner was clicking and I was just singing. I was like, if I'm singing praise songs, well, if I go, hopefully, so I'm kind of afraid of heights, and I didn't know how it was going to be, and I got to tell you, wow, it was like tranquilo. The level of sophistication and ability of this guy to navigate with heat and turning on and off and doing all this stuff, I was so fascinated. But I had to be up heck early, so I had to be in the area at 5:30 in the morning, but I got to see the sunrise from a balloon. And what I got to see is something interesting. So on this ride, you got to see the landscape. So you can see what happened in Napa Valley related to the fires that have happened and the changing landscape. And so when I was taking pictures from the balloon, I was like, look at this. What's that? What are all those brown areas? And so there's an adapting, changing landscape. Climate change really is altering, right? The soil, water, and the length of the growing season in Napa. It's actually, competition has changed, right? People want to drink that CBD drink. They don't want to drink wine anymore, right? They're going on out, it's dry everything, right? Dry July, dry January, it's right? They're changing, habits are changing for people. They're eating gummies, I don't know. And so, right, there's competition and and then there's consumer taste, right? That's what I'm saying. So I was fascinated, and so the guy started to tell me about what's happening, so I started to research it. So we have lessons to take even from the Napa Valley winemakers, right? So some vineyards doubled down on tradition and struggled. They kept all their vines, they did all this stuff, but communities are actually taking down and pruning not just the vines, but actually totally changing what they're doing. So they're ripping out vines to support better growth for the vines that they have, right? They're introducing new varietals. They're changing what they're doing. They're creating diversified product lines. They really are thinking about the experience of the people who come versus just sort of expecting, because it's Napa, that everybody's going to still come. They are suffering and changing. And in addition, so that's the lesson for us, right? I was on this balloon, I'm like, I have a little bit of a different perspective. We don't just need to react to the season we're in, we've got to think for the future. So I also want to talk to you about, has anybody seen this documentary? It's fantastic. Lessons from the Street Gang, it's old. I've talked about this in some other talks that I've done, but I want to say this is about how Sesame Street was developed. And Lessons from the Street Gang is about how they genuinely believe, this group of artists and producers and writers got together, they genuinely believed in what they were doing. There was joy. Their joy showed in everything that they did and how they approached things. They were very mindful about this, and they were intentional and focused, right, on their core beliefs. And so the Street Gang core beliefs were as such. Television could be socially valuable. You could give kids the tools to create the world they wanted to live in. You should always respect children and never talk down to them. And you have to appeal to parents too, not just the children, right? Understanding how families learn together, right? Understanding that it's a little bit different. So how do you conceptualize this kind of thing? And so, was it a kids show for everyone? No. They actually pruned their vision. They targeted preschool-age children in urban communities. That was their focus. We're not building a television show for everybody. That is our focus. They focused relentlessly on literacy, numeracy, and social emotional skills. That was their lane. They rejected conventional children's television, right? And did something different. They invented new formulas, right? Groundbreaking work. And that pruning, that vision didn't make it small. It made it what? How many of you have not heard of Sesame Street, right? It had a global impact, and it became the force of their power, is that they were really connected to what it was. So I've created a vision for us in this next year or two. It's act with vision and purpose to create a unified, equity-centered district, streamlining programs, aligning resources, and forging clear student-first pathways that remove barriers, accelerate success, and set a new standard for community college excellence. I don't want you to miss that, because we're about to be excellent in everything we do, right? So our intentional work, and you want me to tell you the plan, this is my recommendation. Our intentional pruning and focus work approach is going to be conducting course and program assessment to identify duplication. We cannot compete with each other anymore. We have to address the duplication in our district. The recommendation over here is to create a weekend and evening college to serve working learners. The data shows it. It says it. We are not intentionally set up to serve them in services or in our coursework. Consolidating distance education across the colleges for better coordination. I know that some people are like, oh, but folks, students can't even get a complete degree. We're like competing with each other on these kind of things. Like how can we have the Peralta Equity Rubric and be the leading internationally on equity and student success, and we can't even offer people a pathway into a degree online, right? It's willy-nilly. We need at least coordination. It doesn't mean that one college isn't going to have it in their program. It's meaning, like, let's get one schedule together and schedule those resources and decide how much we're going to give to it and help support the professional development of those, right, faculty, and actually help support online learners in a new way with actual dedicated student services, right? That's what we're talking about, but we can't do it when we're spread like this. Centralized dual enrollment, partnerships, and coordination, right? So every college does it different. Every school, they're calling 3 of you. It's like ridiculousness, right? Expand concurrent enrollment and reverse transfer pathways. So I'm going to tell you, we have a new report. The data shows we have tons of opportunity with students who just want to come to us, who aren't going to do dual enrollment pathways, which means that we dedicate a class in their high school at their high school time or their school time. This is just learners who want to learn, who are coming to us in lots of numbers. We are actually underutilizing that. And in addition, our summers are filled with reverse transfers. People from CSU or UC who can't get their classes, we do not schedule for them. So why don't we do some data mining and find out what they actually really need to take and actually schedule what they need? Like, let's market to them. Let's say we're the place to come back to when your CSU doesn't have, does that make sense? We're not doing it intentionally. It's happening just because we're closing our eyes. And the last one is going to be unifying to build a stronger, more integrated network of colleges. So I know that's why everybody, so the organizational pruning framework that I'm going to give you is kind of this. It's like, we're going to ask questions, identify things. So examples in our context I put over here. I don't need to go over these, but it's really sort of a framework for, right, beginning the work of having the conversations and having the data, and I'm hoping that you're going to be around for it. And I showed this when I very first came, but the we can model, right? We can if we, right? We can if we. So I heard that. We want to offer more classes. We can if we X, right? right? We can do things more thoughtfully. We can fund particular things. We have a lot of abundance, but we're not using it in the best ways possible. So I have faith in us, and I have faith in the vision. And what we've seen in all data is that, again, if you really have a focus, right, I think we're going to outcompete lots of folks. Nobody's doing an evening and weekend college, y'all. Right? I mean, we have some online colleges that are fully online, but really, like, our students trust us and want to come here, right? There are things that we're doing. So we want to make sure that we can outperform folks. So we've got this incredible network of colleges, right? But we also have overlaps and things, right? Where some things are here and there or not, or we all have it, or we're not sure, right? This is sort of what it is. This is part of the assessment phase of what we need to be doing, is talking about that, looking at it, thinking through it. And I want to give us some history of our community college district. I think it's important. We've had a dynamic history in this district, right, of a lot of interesting things. So you can see this here, right? We started in 1927 here, right? Laney College, the trade school was founded. Then Merritt College School of Business was founded. Then we moved locations. Moved locations. Then we became Laney College, right? Then the Board of Education created Oakland Junior College. It then became Oakland City College, right? And then the residents of our area said, let's get together and have a community college district. And then we created Peralta Community College Junior College District, okay, which was comprised of Laney and Merritt. And then, right, we got a bond, thank you voters, helping us create these facilities. We started to build. And did you all know, so College Valley in 1968 in temporary facilities, but then y'all knew we had Feather River College? Yes, we did, Feather River College, right? So Feather River College, what? Heck of miles away. Was part of us, not geographically located us, but part of our district. Then we got the COA footprint. Laney College gets the Fallon Street, 10th Street and Fallon. Merritt relocates, right? And then Berkeley City College was the fourth one. But let me tell you, this is what's so fascinating. So I met with two different retirees who told me incredible histories about BCC. So before it was anything, it was the Peralta College for Non-Traditional Studies, PCNS. And then it became Vista College, right? And so what I heard about it was that these retirees were telling me just this amazing story, right? But our world-renowned ASL program out of Berkeley City College, which, right, was built from that, was actually built there. Was built from a center of innovation. It was actually a center of innovation. So it wasn't even this thing. It was in our DNA to do that. And then we ended up, there was a big battle, I hear. So this is Peralta history. So they were it was called the Vista Nine, took on the Peralta, and they wanted to divest. And then they went through this big battle with the board. And then actually that sort of happened. And they say they won, lots of people, whatever. But we got to keep Berkeley City College in the family, and Berkeley City College became the new name. And Feather River College left us. And then right there, we moved from Vista College to where we are today, to Berkeley City College, now rising a second building in Berkeley, right? So we have this really tremendous history of what? Innovation, focus, moving, shaking, right? Doing what's right. Understanding that form always isn't function when we're wanting to serve students. So I will be recommending that we really have focused conversation about reunifying Laney and Merritt as Oakland City College, not closing any campus. So let me be clear. I don't want people running out. What I'm saying is, there's history in the Oakland City College name. It keeps our footprint in our areas that we serve. It's an opportunity to look across. But this isn't just all you BCC folks are okay, and College Alameda. No, remember the slide before. There's lots of work to do in and amongst everybody. But the idea here is really thinking through what would it look like to prune, to grow three tremendous colleges that really could flourish in new ways if we went back to a history that's actually part of our DNA, right? And so I found this was on eBay, that Oakland City College thing I think it's still there. So I got my eye on it, so y'all. But so I know this is what folks, and I get it, right? So the pain of hearing particular things, I want to just sort of say to you, like, I just really believe deeply, like, this is the best pathway forward, those focused areas that we talked about and thinking through what we might look like configured in a different way. So I'm going to give you a draft timeline. Okay, this is very drafty draft. It's not anything, but I'm, just saying to you, we're going to learn and align. So a lot of the data and the analysis we need to do this is not a done thing, right? But we need to learn. We need to think. We need to take the concepts of pruning and then actually where we could grow, dreaming about things we want to. So this isn't a reductive thing, y'all. It is a grow thing. It's actually a grow thing. It's not deduct. That's, I think, an important part of understanding what's going on. Then we would do phase 2, which is the design and test phase. We'd really begin to create pilots and really look at some of the things. And actually, I want to say a lot of this work is already seeded and happening. We're doing things to bring in adult learners. We had a bunch of folks get trained on, my brain just lost the ability to benefit. Bringing in communities who don't have high school degrees, who want to go to college, right? Reshaping our financial aid to invite these folks in. We're doing stuff around dual enrollment. We're doing stuff around DE, right? No wrong front door. So a lot of this is already seated in the community. It's focusing our attention to say, this is where we should focus. And then putting it into action, so 12 to 24 months. Why? Because we have a 2-year time frame. The runway to kind of get things done and be able to think through what we're doing. So this is not happening. Don't run to, I just really want to say again, and this is not a closure of anything. We are investing dollars in this campus. We're investing dollars in Laney College, right? They're very separate and distinct, but also have things that are unique about them too, and also similar. So let me just talk a little bit about brain science, because I've done a lot. And you've heard me give speeches for those who are at Laney, because I'm very interested in neuroplasticity. I'm interested in learning. I'm interested in what happened. And recently, Dr. Jim Doty died. He was a leading renowned scholar on neuroscience and plasticity, and really talked about the universe doesn't care about what matters to you. It's how you direct your attention and retrain your brain. And so he was saying manifestation isn't magic, it's neuroscience. And so really that we have the ability, y'all. It's like pruning, right? We have to free up the mental space of all the old stuff to be able to let in the new stuff. And our brain helps us do that if we can cut the patterns that we have. And I do it all the time. Today, when I went on the Calm app and I did my meditation, it was like, all your inner voice things to me. I mean, that was the thing. I was like, oh my God, I'm very nervous. So the universe told me, right? I gotta let free some of these things. There's parasympathetic activation, right? Mindful practices help. Manifestation can help us refocus. And it creates bandwidth for us mentally, for you personally, and for us organizationally. And really what is the most important is that selfish manifestation rarely works. So I just want to say this. It is documented scientifically that you must have compassion fuels the process. This is what his research is about. And helping others activates that. And it makes people happier too. So I wanted to share this really quick picture of Deborah Ann. She was a student worker in my office when I was the president at Laney. Amazing woman, all these things. We get through the year, I always see her, professional, great, always coming. So we go to the end of the year EOPS graduation. And I love it because the team wants to do something special, so they take all our students out of town, and they take them to Preservation Park. So we don't do it at Laney, we go somewhere. So it's a beautiful event. We have a great time. All the students are happy. So we're going to the car, and we're walking to the parking lot, and she literally is like, I don't have money for parking. And then I learned that she lived in her car. This woman had been working in my office for almost a whole academic year, and I didn't know every night she was sleeping in her car. Like, this is who we're working for, y'all. The data, we're going to do a presentation soon. We're going to release the 2025 Real College California Basic Needs Statewide Assessment. We just, late last night, I got some information from Helen and Tina, thank you, my brain, about the levels of insecurity in our students. But we had over 3,000 students in our community take the survey, and 48% of them experienced food insecurity, 59% reported housing insecurity, and 21% experienced homelessness. And the rates are higher at Laney and Merritt, precipitously, for full-time students. And so, like, right, there's some synergy. Like, even I just looked at the data this morning. So I just am saying, like, think of that student. Think of what it is. Like, that kind of thing is going to fuel where we are. So, Jeff Sinceri said it today in the beginning. I'll just say this. I woke up hearing all this stuff about the Smithsonian, all this stuff. I'm not being political here at all. But what I'm saying is, the Smithsonian Institute evaluates culture. It holds and evaluates our culture as a community, right? There have been talks about, we've been lucky in California in a lot of ways, but they are unabashedly reframing, retyping, reprogramming what history is. We, as educators, need to stand up and do the best work ever as an antidote to that. It's the continued assault on learning and academic freedom, and I need you here in this community doing it. We are the shapers of culture. So for us, by us is an important part that I just want to talk about. We have brilliance in this community. How do we hold ourselves to excellence? And I mean excellence, like you being here, you having 100s on your, you know what I mean? Like excellence in teaching and service and administration. You know, how might we design and implement and study ourselves? You all say we're the best. Let's study ourselves. Let's put out reports. Let's tell the global community what we're about. Let's do it. Let's put it, stamp it on the ground and say we're the best, right? I'm willing to do it. Let's figure it out. How do we seek the right partnerships? We're very passive. A lot of people come to us that we have some grant writing that goes on and everything, like we're reaching for things, but a lot of it is passive. So how do we go after the right things for the right programs to say we want internships, we want professional development, we want new equipment, we want it for the right program and the right kind of thing? How do we do this? And so this will be part of our work also in the next several years. So this isn't stop. It's not just that work. It's going to be this work, thinking through what we're doing. I keep getting this wrong. All right, can you hit play? And then I'll close it up. I know, Marla. I'm doing okay. Okay. Don't worry. I want to thank Marcus Creel for his support with this, and then also Mark Johnson. Thank you. I don't need to see me. Yep.
Hope when you take that jump, you don't feel the fall. Hope when the water rises, you built a wall. Hope when the crowd screams out, you're screaming your name. Hope if everybody runs, you choose to stay. Hope that you fall in love and it hurts so bad. Hey, the only way you can know, you give it all you had. And I hope that you don't suffer, but take the pain. Hope when the moment comes, you'll say, I did it all. I lived. Hope that you spend your days, but they all add up. And when that sun goes down, hope you raise your cup. Oh, I wish that I could witness all your joy and all your pain. But until my moment comes, I'll say I did it all. I did it all. I owned every second that this world could give. I saw so many places, the things that I did. And with every broken bone, I swear I lived. I swear I live. Every broken bone. I swear I did it all. I did it all. I owned every second that this world could give. I saw so many places, the things that I did. Yeah, with every broken bone, I swear I live. I swear I live.
So I just thank you to our team. Let me just do a couple, like my last quick. So this is a picture of the mural project from Fred Alvarado's mural class that got done this year, just this summer. It's on 5th Avenue and 8th Street, and we had this building at DGS that kept getting graffitied all the time. And it's like, why not use the brilliance of our students to like do this? And so this is our team. I want to thank Jamil and Greg and BC and everybody, Fred, and these students who designed and built and painted this over days of time. There's just the opportunity to look at something in a new way and not keep hitting our head and painting over the graffiti each time. And so Alice Walker said, the gardener knows that pruning is an act of love and not destruction. I welcome you, community. Have a wonderful start to the fall semester. We'll be coming out to the colleges to do district roadshows. We'll be having more conversations. This is not the end of it. Let's prune with purpose. Let's grow with intention. My gratitude to you. Thank you.